the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Rabbis Ari Abramowitz, Jeremy Gimpel, and Luke Hilton. Rabbis,
not a rabbi.
Yeah, Luke Hilton, great to have you here. We're going to talk today a lot about, there's just so much happening in the world constantly every week. There's so much to discuss. Now, we have elections going on, and this is really, you were talking about different segments of the show, so maybe we should just open this part of the show as the comedy section of the Mahmoud Abbas has scheduled his elections. So I don't know what the Rebbes would say about this, but
how many years has it been so far? No, it's been like years, right? He's like 15 years without.
I feel like I've been saying 16 years
right
for quite some time.
The 90-year-old Mahmoud Abbas is in the 21st year of his 4-year term that he was elected to in 2005.
Yeah, so he has just scheduled elections to be held in November, right?
He's not. This is not elections for him.
Oh,
that's the thing.
Oh, he's just scheduled elections.
Yeah. No, he's 90 years old, and he's going to continue as president or chairman, apparently.
Right, of course.
A dictator for life.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, we'll talk about this, but we've also got a lot of other things to talk about.
Like when Mahmoud Abbas walks into a bar, but when Mahmoud Abbas calls for elections in the West Bank.
Okay, this is a comedy section. I can't believe it. Or you're like a stand-up comedy, and you're not getting into this yet. I don't know.
No, there's the Abbas peace plan. Like, let's put them on a bus and get them out of here.
That's good.
Comedy.
That's good. You know, it
took me a second.
On the one hand, it's
I love that. That was like a late reaction there.
Slowly the wheels are turning.
You know, it's funny. It reminds me of the story about the elderly, pious Jewish man that's in the line in El Al to go to America. He's in the security line, and the security woman says, "Has anyone put anything in your bags without your knowledge?" And he says, "If it was without my knowledge, how would I know?" That's a good joke. What does that have to do with Abbas? Nothing, but it's a joke that I really like. No, but the reason that I don't have a good joke about Abbas is because it's so dark.
It is dark.
Let me guess. You really like him and you want him for Shabbat at your Shabbat table.
The truth is, I sort of like Hamas more than Abbas because at least they say who they are and they are who they say.
Yeah.
And what is so sinister and duplicitous dark about Abbas is that he's jihad in a suit. You know, he comes and he's like, "Oh, I'm reasonable." But meanwhile, literally, they're paying millions and millions and millions of shekels to the families and terrorists themselves. When they're released from prison and whatever, trade Israel does for hostages, they leave not only with huge amounts of money, like literally millionaires, but with a line of girls that are waiting to marry them. And it's just like it is the best deal in the world for them. And they're constantly paying these terrorists for slitting the throats of babies in their cribs. And they're considered by the international community to be reasonable and moderate. It's dark. Go ahead.
That's just the whole purpose of this headline is like, oh, they're hosting an election. They're a democracy. They're obviously good peace partners because they're a democracy, where it's like, well, Hitler was also democratically elected. It doesn't really matter how you elect your leadership. It matters what the values of that leadership are.
Right, and it's so cynical also because you look at the United Nations, and Abbas is considered a moderate and a hero and a freedom fighter. Meanwhile, they're going to America and saying that ICE needs to be investigated by the United Nations for human rights violations. ICE, but not Abbas and actual terrorists who are slaying hundreds of thousands. It's just so... It's ironic and it's almost funny.
So I just pulled up. I asked how much the PA has paid out to terrorists under the pay to slay program, which is what you're referencing. Yeah. And recent specific data. This is just what I pulled up quickly. So in 2024, 2025, their estimates are that 2024 PA funneled 144 million. In 2025, 214 million to terrorists and their families. And this is a interim government that was set up in 1993, the Palestinian Authority, that governs like between 1 and 2 million people, right? And they can't provide their own water, they can't collect their own taxes, can't provide their own electricity, they can't do anything that a normal government does.
They can't even have elections,
except pay out $200 million to murderers. Pay out $200 million specifically for people who murder or try to murder Jews.
The most important thing, though, and that's what people don't understand, where did that $200 million come from? Where do they make their money from?
We'll get back to the podcast in just a second. Are you guys ready to uncover what's really behind the headlines about Israel and the so-called Palestinian cause? So, The Truth About Palestine is a book that cuts through the noise, exposing suppressed facts and exploring the conflict from a historical and biblical perspective. This isn't just politics, it's a battle for truth that impacts us all. From the origins of so-called Palestinian identity to the spiritual forces shaping the Middle East today, this book gives you the clarity that the mainstream media will not. You guys can get a copy of The Truth About Palestine and discover what the Bible and history truly say about Israel's destiny. We'll have the link in the description below. This is a book I personally read, written by a good friend of ours, one we definitely recommend here at the Israel Guys. Get your copy today. Click the link in the description below. And now, back to the podcast.
It's literally taxpayers' money. The taxes of Germany, the taxes of America for a while, the taxes of different countries are going to what? To pay the terrorists to kill Jews. It's like unbelievable. And that's the lion's share of their elections. That's what it's all about. Imagine if the world just left Israel alone. The incentive to actually go and commit terror and sit in prison, the prisoners walk out millionaires. It's unbelievable. And they're being funded by those countries.
And they get degrees while they're in prison from Israel. And
they get life-saving brain surgery like Sinwar did, paid for by the Israeli taxpayer. Ugh, it's just it's absurd.
For people that want to know the details, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, who, as we mentioned, is in his 21st term and he's 90 years old now, has announced that direct elections for the Palestinian National Council will be held on November 1st, 2026, and will be open to all Arabs from Gaza, Judea, and Samaria, as well as those who now live elsewhere around the world. Just to back up for a second, PA is a branch of the Palestine Liberation Organization, which, by the way, was founded in
1964.
1964, before the 1967 war happened.
What are they liberating? Is the
question is, what were they trying to liberate in 1964? Except, as they've said over and over again, Tel Aviv, Jaffa, Haifa, Netanya, Ashdod, Ashkelon.
That's the stupid thing about this whole thing is that they can say that every day, constantly on all of their platforms, in English, in Arabic. They say it. It's everywhere. But most people say they just, oh, it's all in Arabic. No, they say it everywhere. They
say the most in Arabic, but I mean, in today's world, it's like you just got to pay attention to see what they're actually saying.
The whole world doesn't want to pay attention to what they're actually saying. So that's what one of the infuriating things about this is that it's so loud, so clear what their objectives are. You go into an Arab village. What do you see in the first roundabout you get to is a big statue of the
USAID sign.
Well, oh yeah, before you see a USAID sign, and then you see the terrorist that's venerated in the middle of the roundabout for, the more Jews he was able to inflict with either harm or death, the more he'll be venerated. And that's in the villages around here, and that's what the Palestinian Authority, like you said.
By the way, that's something that we personally investigated.
Yeah, we've been into the villages.
It's not just like a rumor or anything.
Luke, this is what's actually concerning to me, though, is that he's open for elections here, and it's the suit and mask maybe in the process of being taken off here and I don't know if the world even cares, because they don't want to take the suits off these guys because they're making too much money, honestly, with this entity of the Palestinian Authority. It sells in the news, it sells everywhere. Countries are behind it. It's
not just a money thing. I think we make a mistake too often by saying people are just driven by money and they're making money. There's a much deeper, much more visceral, spiritual undercurrent here that is motivating and animating them, and that is the destruction of the Jewish state of Israel, which the continued existence and thriving of Israel is a testimony to the thriving of the God of Israel.
That's right.
And that's what this thing is about. It's not just about money. I think we make a mistake when we get to into that sort of.
Well, to prove your point even further is there's been some I think it was 28 times. This has been an old figure even, so it's been more than that now. 28 times the Marshall Plan, which was the plan of the Americans rebuilt Europe after World War II, has gone into trying to create a Palestinian state. And so you're right. Money has not actually accomplished anything in this whole realm, and the God factor is actually the spiritual factor is actually done much more. The state of Israel continues to be stronger and building up, even though mass and unbelievable amounts of money have been poured into trying to create this opposition to God, this fight against God and the Jewish pioneers that are here, and it's been unsuccessful.
I mean, Ari, of course I agree with everything that you're saying. It's obviously, you can't really remove the church from state when you're talking about the state of Israel, because God is everything that's in Israel. But at the same time, we just heard that America has now accepted, what is it, like $6-7 billion in an arms deal from Israel, and then $9 billion in an arms deal in Saudi Arabia. There really is a big industry that wants a war, that wants to perpetuate this war. Whatever peace deal that we have, it's never really going to bring peace. It's just going to create a perpetual conflict, because it's greasing the wheels of this industry and this economy and this military complex that needs to be funded. There are just so many interests that are involved. Now, behind that, obviously there's spiritual realities, but there's also just talkless realities on the ground.
Okay, but I'm just saying it's worth parsing it out. There's Haman and there's Achashverosh from the story of Purim. They each had their underlying motivations that were compelling them to do what they did. Achashverosh was very much sort of a money guy, and yeah, he disliked Jews. He was happy to throw the Jews under the bus, but he wasn't animated. He didn't get his life force from the destruction and the murder of Jews. Haman, on the other hand, did. He was Amalek. His entire existence and life force came from that. So it's important to understand that on the one hand, there's the jihad in Iran. On the other hand, there's the military-industrial complex in America. They each have their interests, but it's a Venn diagram that comes together somewhere.
Well, I think what's really interesting, the Venn diagram almost always ends up focusing somehow around this chosen land. It's like the center stage of all of these world movements that are happening. America is talking to Iran. There are talks. There aren't talks. Every other day, there's like a new word. Drones are attacking Iran. America's attacking. It's just like constant. And there is a messianic prophecy that I think makes a lot of sense, because it says that they will take our swords, turn them into plowshares, take the spears and turn them into pruning hooks. What is that really saying? It's saying that we're going to take weapons of war and turn them into products of productivity. We're going to take all of these resources and make them something beautiful. Imagine $9 billion, $7 billion, hundreds of millions of shekels that are going to terrorists to pay to kill Jews. If we all united towards a cause that would make the world more beautiful, make the world more harmonious, that would be the Messianic era. So we're just being constantly reminded that this war in Israel, it's really kind of on our shoulders, that we need to bring a peace and order in order to bring the productivity away from the military-industrial complex and make it towards swords into plowshares.
Just on the other hand, antibiotics and drip irrigation technology and all of the light and technologies and goodness that Israel wants to bring the world to make humanity a better place, without having the true message of godliness, then it's really for naught. It won't accomplish any ends of bringing light. And that's what these jihadists are really here for. Part of it is it's like they are defibrillators in the hand of God, waking up the nation of Israel to who we are and what we're about and what our deepest mission is. And you hear it echoed from what they themselves are saying, what is motivating them, that they called this war the Al-Aqsa flood. It was about the Temple Mount, that it's a spiritual attack on us, that we need to hear what they're saying. We need to listen to our enemies and understand that there is a deeper message coming at us.
I think what's awesome about Israel is that it's like the God story that's unfolding here is even beyond your choosing. Like it's just happening. The stage is so set up that the Jewish people are being the light in a dark, very dark, one of the darkest places of the world. When we just see Hamas, just to finish that discussion on Hamas quickly, is that 41% technically
the PA
of supporting Hamas,
no
over 17% supporting Fatah, right?
You're saying in PA elections,
yeah.
Hamas is almost
right now,
3 times more popular.
Yeah, Fatah is the ruling power,
yeah,
and they've never had elections in 30 plus years. But that a big part of that is because Hamas would win majority if their elections were held.
But I want to remind everybody, these are the polls, and what kind of poll could you get? What I am very much so reminded is, and want to remind everyone else is that 82% after October 7th, after the brutal attacks of Hamas rocketed up in the polls. These were the guys. 82% of the Arabs of Judea and Samaria supported Hamas. Now, the only reason why they would go lean on one side or the other is who is achieving the goal to obliterate the Jews the best. If they're sensing that it needs to be the terrorist in the suit for a time, they're going to vote Fatah. But if they sense their power is up and they're going to be able to achieve their ultimate goal of attacking and annihilating and destroying the Jewish population of Israel, then they're going to go Hamas. So what the opportunity was in October 7th, they actually saw that maybe this was the time where they could destroy Israel. What did you see? You saw the true colors come out, and you saw a support for Hamas just like rocket up there, like mass support, 82%. That's huge.
Yeah, I think you also saw the true colors of Israel. And I think that's something, a light that has to be broadcast to the rest of the world now.
You're right.
You know, when you read the Bible, there's like a story in the beginning, and then there's a story at the end. The first story is the story of the flood. There's just going to be a flood that's going to bring a lot of chaos to the world. Then the last story of the Bible is an apocalypse. It's like Gog and Magog. There's going to be a world war. And it's like that's the bookends of the Bible are these stories, because it's just a matter of time until some sort of disaster happens. That's just the way of the world. It might be Corona. It might be when America attacks Iran, or maybe Iran is going to attack America, and things are going to get thrown into chaos. There's going to be a flood. And when Israel was thrust into 2 years of war, our true colors came out. Mm-hmm. Society united. We became more religious. We became more conservative. It brought all of Israel together. And the question that people really need to ask themselves now, because there are forces that are trying to flood America with immigrations. The UN just came out now saying, condemning America, saying that they're violating human rights by trying to get rid of their own illegal immigrants. If a flood hits America, let's say Iran preemptively strikes, let's say there's a black swan event, will America unite? Will they come together like Israel did? That really is what Israel is here to teach the world, is that when Israel was under the most insane scenario, 7 fronts, a war, economy, just no one had ever experienced anything like that in history, we all came together. Because we are meant to be a light to show other societies how to come together.
You know, I like listening, as you know, I talk about it all the time. I listen too much to Tucker Carlson and to Candace Owens and to just the Israel haters, because I'm finding what is coming out from them to be so deep and so compelling and so interesting to see these deep spiritual insights into the Jew hatred. But one thing I heard, I think it was Andrew Tate said, he said, yeah, there's an unbelievable precipitous rise in anti-Semitism. The only people that don't see that are American Jews, by the way.
That's not true. They see it.
Okay, but there's tremendous denial about that. I just went to the grocery store last week and nothing happened to me. You always hear these like,
they went to the kosher grocery store.
Right, down the street. Yeah. And then I said, well, look what happened 5 blocks away in Brooklyn, right down. Yeah, but my block, that's 5 blocks away. You know how far away that is? Like that sort of thing. But Andrew Tate said there's tremendous rise in Jew hatred. All that needs to happen to cure this is for the economy to go back up, right? Because there's this sense that the lacking, the financial and economic lacking of young Americans that feel like they have no future, that it's the system and the Jews, and that's what it is. And really, when you think about what the American dream, the American promise is that you can leave behind all of your conflicts, come to America, and you'll have the ability to make it work, to make a lot of money, to have wealth and material abundance. But the minute that American promise is gone, there's nothing holding that country together right now. And that is what is truly alarming, that if it hit the fan here in Israel, in Judea, I'm not concerned about that. We are so deeply tied in together that everyone would be saying, I've got extra bottles of water here. Who needs water? Hey, you have antibiotics. I'm here for you. No question that that's exactly what happened in the hills of Judea. What would happen in the downtown Brooklyn? Or in Houston, Texas, or anywhere else, that's a totally different story, because that is when the fabric holding that nation together is already fraying so much. Add empty grocery shelves and chaos in the streets, and it's difficult to imagine, and I think people don't even want to think about it, because we're really on the precipice of that right now. Am I wrong? Am I alarmist?
No, I think you're right about it, and I want just to add emphasis to it. I think that it's very interesting the way the enemies are collaborating. on this point that the American people are not so unified on Israel like I would say they used to be a little bit more unified about Israel on public. Across the conservative anyway, we had a lot of unity on support for Israel, and today that's being splintered. And how that's being splintered is so interesting to me. Like I just saw this X post from one of the leaders of Iran saying to America, you see this teasing thing going on. It's so weird to me because America is so strong and we got these massive boats sitting, all the ships and the biggest powers of the world possible. Like we're so strong and we're sitting right outside of Iran and they're sending drones at us. And we're like on the defense. We're so big, but we're like on this defense mode. And meanwhile, like we're shooting down the drone instead of just, how are they sending drones at our massive ships? Like it's a bit like we're playing defense, but we're the big, powerful thing. So, meanwhile, I'm seeing this thing go out from this leader of Iran. I can't remember who it was. One of the top things sent out this expo saying, just talking to the Americans. You know how Bibi like sometimes talks to the Iranian people? We know the Iranians are doing that to the rest of the world. They're talking to all the people trying to get their coalition, right? And he said, Americans, just remember how, just paraphrasing, Bibi Netanyahu, you know how he got you into that war with Iraq? How did that do for you? Just trying to and then Tucker Carlson is repeating the same kind of rhetoric of the leaders of Iran to the American people.
By the way, I don't know if that's how it's going. I think Tucker Carlson is saying it. The Iranian leaders are listening to it and parroting it back, and then it's going back to Tucker Carlson.
Playing Tucker Carlson on Iranian state TV not that long ago.
No, but you see that breakdown, though? Blaming Israel for all the problems that America saw in the early 2000s in the war with Iraq. Like thousands of soldiers, like they're playing on a thing that was most Americans would agree was bad. And they're going to play into that to try to convince the American people, oh, here you go around. You got Trump's leading the world into a bad situation again. Don't get involved with international affairs.
I just
leading right into that same situation.
As long as we're talking about Tucker Carlson right now, like
be careful,
he just had a program.
Like Candace Owens.
He had a program that I think is necessary listening if you have the tools to actually hear the deeper undercurrent of what he's saying with Cenk Uygur, right? It must have been 2 hours, and it was a work of art. It was a masterpiece. They went through 1,000 different subjects, and every single one of them they brought back to Israel and how Israel is undermining everything, meaning like from the far right to the far left are coming together in a very friendly and jovial thing. And they're saying that we're obsessed about Israel. I think they mentioned Israel 221 times.
Are you for real?
Yes. 221 times they mentioned Israel as they were laughing. Oh, everybody's saying that we're obsessed about Israel. And that was the actual argument that Cenk and Tucker were making, that it's not just the billions of dollars that the American government is giving to Israel in financial aid, but the trillions of dollars that America has spent embroiled in conflicts with Israel's enemies because of Israel. And so the suffering happening in the streets right now of America, anyone who does not have the financial security that they wish they had, just so you know, that's Israel. That's what they were doing right there. It's any issue that you have is Israel.
It's really awesome because our whole lives, we kind of grew up with the legends of anti-Semitism. Like, oh, when the communists were blaming for being communists, the Bolsheviks are the Bolsheviks. We're like, when you're rich, they're too rich. When they're poor, they're too poor. When they don't have a country, like they always found a reason to blame the Jews for that country's problems. And that's what flamed this Jew hatred. And we're like, I don't really know. I've lived my whole life and I never really saw that. And we're actually watching it happen live right now.
And it's happening to such a degree that I'm actually encouraged by it. Because if it was just happening like little bits by little bits.
It's not funny if you didn't say that every week.
Do I say that every week? I wouldn't be surprised. I'm from a long line of Abramowitz men that repeat ourselves by saying things with tremendous conviction that we have no idea about.
Go ahead.
But no, it's really happening so precipitously and from every angle with such momentum that you can't help but to see the hand of God. That the hearts and the minds are being stirred. And we see it again and again throughout the Torah, that when the time comes, the hearts and the minds of people become stirred to accomplish his purpose. I mean, there's the constant they're saying, leave. If you love Israel so much, then go to Israel. Leave America, go to Israel. Meanwhile, they have Aliyah conferences happening all throughout America where Israeli real estate people are going and saying, hey, Jews, here's a neighborhood here. You could buy, there's not one of them that ever happens, that there's not huge riots outside and throwing and attacking people and So they're not allowed to go to Israel. They're not allowed to not go to Israel. They're not allowed to breathe. Jews are not allowed to breathe, to exist, because our very existence on the deepest level is a contradiction to the very essence of what they want to believe. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead.
I guess I got a question that I want somebody to answer, is because we're saying all this stuff, but we're not really saying, well, what's the other side then? If Tucker and all these guys and all this rhetoric on the streets, if the Iran and the conservative right in America is now kind of shifting to a kind of an Iranian ideology about Israel, that's a problem. And they're saying that America has given $3 trillion, whatever you're saying, to over the years, and somehow that wasn't an American interest. I don't know. I guess the question is for everybody that's listening, that's like, I'm pro-Israel. I want to believe the best. But this is all I'm hearing on the media. Give me the truth about how America's relationship to Israel is a good thing. When you're a young person that's in just getting this all the time, you're just constantly on repeat, that America has put all this money and hadn't gotten anything, basically. All we've got for this is war.
Can I tell you the answer?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Garden of Eden is beautiful. And the Garden of Eden is like a spiritual blueprint. Really, it's about us, that in some ways we are a garden ourselves. And what you plant in your mind will grow. Mm-hmm. And when you're planting Twitter feeds and YouTube feeds and, I don't know, Instagram reels or whatever there is else out there, well, then that's what's going to grow in your mind. But if you plant the Bible into your mind, and if you plant God's word into your mind, you're literally shifting the narrative. You're not listening to Tucker Carlson's view. You're actually watching the world unfold through God's eyes, through the eyes of the Bible. And I mean, this is a little bit of a teaser, but Ari and I are working on a project. Can I tell them about this now? Or should I not let it go?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, fine.
Drum roll.
But we're going to do something that's going to really help change the narrative. And where the goal is to literally bring it to the world, because that's what the world needs now. The world is right now feeding itself. It's planting more and more weeds in its mind. And the only way to battle that, the only medicine, is to be deeply rooted in the words of God, in the words of the Bible, because then you start seeing things like, oh, wait a minute. The UN is accusing America of human rights abuses of illegal immigrants in America. What are they trying to do? They want illegal immigrants to overrun America, and they're attacking Israel on every other front. So these two pillars of the world, what are those pillars? Those are the two countries in the world that are built upon the foundations of the Bible. So obviously those two countries as societies are under attack. Now America can shift. Maybe it can be a godly country and be blessed. It can then shift and become a not so godly country, and it will be cursed. Israel is the Bible. Israel can't change. We are chosen for that purpose. We are a chosen people in a chosen land, guided by God. So eventually, it could be that Israel will stand alone, but we'll stand alone and we'll be victorious.
Yeah, I gotta say, there's a quote that Jeremy's making me think of. There are thousands hacking at the branches of evil for one that's striking at the root. Because there's 1,000 different ways to go about answering your question and to addressing that. Saying, well, clearly, look at the jihadist attacks all around the world in playgrounds in France and in England. There's a global jihad against the world, and Israel is the tip of the spear. Okay, but that's defensive and that's negative. Really, to go to the underlying core, that this is a spiritual God thing, that should be the compass. Is this a God thing? Are we addressing the deepest issue? Because if we are, then there's a chance at really changing the hearts and the minds. Just last night, I spoke to this group of secular college kids here in Israel, a lot of them really liberal and leftist and woke and on their whatever. And, and I told them that I was like, if you go, God forbid, back to America and you go to a college, which I think is a huge waste of money, massive, massive waste of money. But if you do, don't get lost in these silly Israel defensive sound bites from whatever organizations propagate them. The only thing that I've seen as effective is that when I'm talking, let's say, to Arabs, and they're saying Palestine, I say, why do you hate Allah? We've talked about this before, right? Why do you hate Allah? How could you say such a thing? Every war we've had against you, we've been overwhelmingly outnumbered, outweaponed. We have no chance, and we're successful with overwhelming victory. It's not because we're stronger. It's because Allah is with us. Why do you stand against Allah? That's it. That's it. It's a spiritual war. It's a God war. And that's why, Jeremy, good for you, by the way, at that self-restraint and not saying what it is we're doing. We're going to announce it soon, but we're really trying
you were
to.
going to start telling everybody what you're doing. He's like, I just wanted to.
No. But we're sitting down. We said, what is the deepest hacking away at the root of evil in the world that we can shine the most light? And this is what we've come to. This is what we're working on.
Just so people don't get confused, you are a rabbi and you don't believe in Allah, so you're going to have to explain that.
So actually, I just got asked that question. Someone asked me, and I want to ask you this question before we sort of, I touch on it. When there are those people, Christians say it, Jews say it, they're like, Allah and the God of Israel there's people like, oh, it's monotheism. They believe in one God. We believe in one God. We're all really believing in the same God. Do you think so? Is the God of Israel and Allah, in your mind, synonymous? Is it really the same God? What do you say about that?
Do I say absolutely not? Well, because you can't yell Allah Akbar and go kill a Jew and think that that's God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, in my mind. I guess that may be
also,
a little bit.
I mean, I just have to agree with Josh. I mean, Allah is not one of the names of God. God has so many names in the Bible. Allah is not one of them. And he also doesn't promise 72 virgins if you kill a Jew. It's just not the same thing. Meaning, I understand what you're trying to do.
I'm not saying this.
No, I understand. Allah is with us. And I'm like, Allah's with us.
Oh, right for that. But
so that's what I'm trying to say. Meaning it's just a little bit confusing. What you're trying to do is you're trying to like bring them on board.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to speak to them in their terms. I'm saying your Allah, okay? The Allah that you believe in, even he is with us.
Oh, God.
Even he's with us. Okay, but obviously to me, because a lot of people conflate the number with essence. So like, well, they believe in one God, we believe in one God, so it's the same God. No, I don't believe that either. I agree with all of you that it's not. If you take the belief in one God and you funnel that through a twisted, distorted, dark document, which is clearly written by an illiterate Muslim shepherd in the 5th century, or whatever it was. When was it written?
600 something. Yeah.
600 something. Yeah. And you're saying, well, you channel that faith through that document, then it's no longer the God of Israel. It doesn't resemble anything on a fundamental level that is connected to that. So I'm not making the case that the God of Israel and Allah are synonymous in any stretch of the imagination.
You're literally saying that in Arabic, Allah means God.
Right. I'm saying your Allah that you believe in, that you're praying to, he's with us because I don't know why that
still doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense?
Not for me.
I think
Let's ask our listeners.
I think in a rabbinic sense, there is a way, and I heard Jewish people talk about this from a non-Jewish perspective. I've never been able to get my mind around this idea. I have heard Jewish people talk about it before, but it always
I'll tell you what.
Should we just take a poll on the top of the YouTube thing that says, do you agree with Ari that he could say this to your Allah is with us without actually believing that the Allah is the God of Israel?
You're not going to get any Christian Zionists on board with
that. I'm not sure about that.
I don't think any Jews on board with that either.
Okay, we'll find out in the polls.
We'll find out. Mama, you hear this? Vote a number of times for me. My mom is always there for me.
No, there is a Jewish idea that
there is something to it, because what is at least the potential of Islam is that they can be brought over on the other side. They can actually worship the God of Abraham. They can worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They don't have any idolatrous things that they're holding on to. It's like, oh, you think that you need to kill the Jews? I'm sorry. That's idolatry. Whatever you're believing there, that's the halakha. Once they say that their God is telling them to kill the Jews, they're clearly worshiping a different God. So it's like, we can bring you on board. The creator of heaven and earth, the God of Abraham. The problem is that, come on over here.
Every time we release a hostage, every time that we trade a hostage for 50 prisoners with blood on their hands, terrorists, every time we give away a little piece.
Wasn't there a whole shipment of people back into Gaza this week that were from the Israeli, I guess, straight out of the prisons or something? I saw this. Something happened this week.
The point is, every negotiation of that type, every time we give away a piece of land, every time we release a terrorist, they see that as weakness, and that weakness is a testimony to the fact God is not with us. Only when we act with tremendous strength and faith and courage and conviction, when we go onto the Temple Mount and build the temple, then we can bring them over and they will come, because that will be the ultimate testimony, even in their eyes. The God of Israel is true, and all of the world will come over. I know that that's true. And that's what we're praying for. We're not praying for their defeat and their death and slaying them. We're praying for God to open their eyes so they can see themselves that we're brothers and we're family, and all of humanity is family.
The only thing I would say about this whole argument, and I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but like, if you're in a crowd of people and you hear a Jewish person yell Baruch Hashem, right, then everybody, like, what would happen? Everybody gets a smile on their face. If you hear a Christian person yell praise the Lord or hallelujah or something like that in a crowd of people, then everybody's like, oh, that's great. It's like zero negative connotations. If you are in a crowd of people and you hear somebody yell Allahu Akbar, what happens? Everybody hits the deck because something's about to blow up, right? And so, like,
which exactly I think is the reason so many people on this United Airlines flight were a little bit.
American Airlines.
Oh, American Airlines. Scratch that, not United Airlines. American Airlines flight. People were really spooked by this. Can we talk about that for a second? I should really let you pilot the show.
Yeah, no, well, you know, I think we got off on like a 20-minute tangent there, but I feel like you guys can let us know. I feel like you guys really like that kind of thing. So drop it in the comments if you do like the tangents in the show, because it seems like that's when we get the best content. So anyways, let's see, where was it? American Airlines on a flight from New York to Miami, which incidentally is like a lot of
the Jewiest flight in all of the world.
A lot of older Jews, retired Jews going
There's
south,
more Jews on that flight than on El Al.
So this took place, American Airlines flight 2692 from LaGuardia to Miami, January 29th. There's a flight attendant identified as Miguel, wore a keffiyeh, and there's a picture throughout the flight while actively working in the cabin. And as we said, it's particularly disturbing because this flight is full of older Jews. And someone said, quote, "This isn't a random red eye to nowhere. This route is packed with Jewish seniors. People were visibly uncomfortable and scared, especially older passengers who didn't feel they could speak up. You're trapped in the air, and the person serving you is wearing something many associate with violence against Jews and airline terror." That's not something you can just ignore.
The turbulence on that flight was probably a lot scarier than it should have been.
Can I just say that I would also be a little bit feel unsafe on that flight as a non-Jew, because I think these guys have killed in the recent history more Americans.
Well, that's the thing. Is like
Jews.
This is not just
a Jewish fight. The plane that went into
kind
the
of
Twin
represents
Towers,
what happened on 9/11 too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, if there's a Muslim person taking over a flight, it doesn't matter. All Americans should be like, hey, this is probably this is a little bit of a problem. That scares me a little bit.
Yeah, this is not a cultural display of Islamic devotion. This is an act of aggression and intimidation. And by the way, human beings are the only species in the world that can see a dangerous situation that raises cortisol and creates fear. And because of the thought of how one would be perceived, are they racist or Islamophobic, they will walk into that situation facing that very clear threat that your mind is sending you for a reason. Like, there's a reason this would raise the alarm on everybody on that plane, like you said, not just Jews. And so to see this playing out in America and how the battle between woke and intuitive, logical, rational is playing out.
Well, that's what's really interesting. I mean, Luke's joke really set it home for me. How are woke progressive atheists aligning with Islam? It's really interesting. Like, that is such a bizarre pair. And really what I think it is, it's a Chilul Hashem. They represent God in the world, whether we like it or not. His God, your God, my God, they represent a God. And the atheist woke progressive movement, they want the world to that jihad over there, that Muslim there, he represents religion. He represents God. I am an atheist, and so good, I want God to look really bad. And so they're aligning themselves because really they're emptying God from the world. Intuitively, they are making God unpleasant, undesirable, unloving, the opposite of what God is. That's what jihad represents, is the opposite of what God wants in the world, what could be in the world, God's dream for the world. Instead of peace and harmony and swords into plowshares, it's jihad, war, death, and 9/11. And so the woke progressives that want God removed from the world, they're aligning with that because it literally is a Chilul Hashem. It is emptying the God that we believe in from the world.
Well, let me ask you this then. You said you mentioned woke atheist progressives, but what about so-called Christians and evangelicals? But like, because at this very moment, we could show pictures of Tucker Carlson on what people are calling the Muslim bootlicking tour, touring these Arab countries in Jordan right now, or was yesterday or something, wearing the Muslim keffiyeh. Like,
I just don't believe that. It's hard for me to believe that there are people that are really believing in the Bible and siding with Tucker Carlson on his Muslim tour. I just don't believe that. I think there are a lot of Americans that are culturally Christian, and they're kind of like following Americans. Right. They're calling themselves patriots. He's like, listen, this is in America's interest now. Let's side with Saudi Arabia. Let's side with Qatar. They have the money. They have the power. They have the numbers. It's in America's interest to align with them. And Americans are like, all right, why are we aligning with this little Israel? But someone that really believes believes in God, that really believes in the Bible, that's watching the promises of the Bible unfold. I just can't believe that someone who really believes would ever fall for those lies. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Here's a real deal that's happening in America. It's interesting. You saw this a little bit with in Texas with what's his name, the senator Ted Cruz. He wasn't grounded enough in why that he got destroyed, right, on his interview with Tucker, because it just wasn't. He didn't have enough like depth of.
Yeah, he didn't know Genesis 12:3. I mean, that is like sort of the.
But I think there's so many like him across America that they just stood with Israel. They're good people, and they thought, hey, the Jews, we're going to stand with Israel. And now that there's a new picture being painted that Israel may not be good, that's like there's this other option. Even pastors, and this is something I know for sure, many pastors across America, people I've even been connected with, large churches that haven't in the past took a strong stance on Israel. Just had somebody here last week that said, it's a large church, my pastor just hasn't really talked about it. And if you go next level deeper, the reason why they're not talking about it is because it's working. This right move that is putting out all these ideas. Yeah, they got a whole congregation full of people that love God, but they're not able to bring the clarity needed on this topic about Israel because it's being confused. It's being put into conflict. It's being said Tucker maybe he's right, and so much so that the people in my congregation may side with Tucker, and so I can't even talk about it.
Well, I mean, I don't really care about church attendance and their numbers, and he doesn't want to alienate his audience. But the vision of the Bible is really clear, and it's kind of beautiful because we're watching it unfold. It will be the righteous among the nations that align themselves with Israel. It's a remnant. It's going to be a small group purified like gold. They're going to be the most pure, the most good, the most believing. It's not going to be in the big mega churches getting the big numbers because they're not going to want any controversy. Someone's going to have to make a stand and say, here's a giant Israeli flag outside my institution. Do you stand with that? If not, then you're not welcome here. And it's probably not going to be a very big place because a lot of people don't want to go to a place with a giant Israeli flag because they'll get death threats. So it's going to be small pockets of people that are going to align themselves with Israel, and small pockets of people in the world. It'll be millions of people, but it's not going to be billions of people. It's going to be a remnant of the righteous among the nations. And so Tucker's just doing his job.
Right. I just did some figures on this. Okay. I want to see if you guys agree with this, because this doesn't sound very good, but I did some figures. In World War II, there was 27,000 people that saved Jews in the Holocaust. Do you think, and then maybe I'll ask some questions, do you think things have gotten better since then or worse?
I think the world is always getting better.
It's getting better.
And that's what I like to believe. I think the world is constantly progressing towards redemption.
Specifically in the area of, maybe I'll ask Ari
Can
this.
you
specifically?
I'm shocked that you would say that.
Can you contextualize?
Reframe the question.
I'll reframe.
Well, it's a complicated question.
27,000 people stood with Jews in World War II.
Out of how many Christians in Europe?
Out of, I think it's five, there was how many billion?
Not billion.
I mean, million. There was five. I think it's around five. Is it? I can't remember.
I would assume there was several million Christians in Europe at that time.
It's in the millions. I can't remember the exact number. So what happens in New York, or let's just say America? Do you feel like, I feel like we got better. I do agree with you that the world got a better place for a while, but it feels like there's a darkening that's happening across the world. And do you feel like in this wave of anti-Semitism, Jew hatred that's covering the globe right now, that the world has gotten better in a sense there would be more people to stand with Israel? Or would you expect about the same?
I would expect the same proportion.
So
come on,
just go.
Are you telling me right now in America that there's only 27,000 people?
No, not right now. What I'm saying is that when there's a real price to pay, okay, when there's that black swan event somewhere in a regional war, a global war, and the skies are shut and the grocery shelves are empty and people they're rushing at the banks and there's serious financial and food insecurity, and standing with a Jew would actually be a real price, like in pre-Holocaust Germany, or during the Holocaust. If a German had a Jew in their home in World War II, they ended up in the gas chambers of Auschwitz next to that Jew. So I'm saying in those circumstances where there's a real price to pay, I would expect relatively similar
numbers,
proportions.
Okay, so I've got it. This was some notes from a lesson I gave the other day. 27,000 stood with Israel. There's about 5 million Christians in Europe represented from that number where that's taken from. So that's one person out of 18,500 stood with Israel. If that is where we're headed, there's about 130 to 120,000 people who are what you just outlined, of people that would In the same scenario with the given numbers across the world, one in 18,000, there's 2.5 billion Christians around the world. So I'm just taking that from Christian numbers. That would leave us about 120 to 130,000 if you were to get a figure. I know that sounds really crazy, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Globally?
That's global Christianity.
Okay, so at least now we know what our fellowship needs to be.
130,000.
Now we actually have the target.
Sounds good to me.
We are raising our goal is 120 what?
130,000.
Excellent.
That's an estimate.
All right, now we know.
Because you got about
Thank you, Josh.
2.4 to 2.5 billion Christians around the world. And so if you give that 1 in 18,500
Well, can I just bring up here's the danger
I really love that analysis.
No, because people ask me all the time before you get into Luke, people ask me how many Christian Zionists are in the world. And of course, it depends on your definition of Zionism. To me, Zionism is the deepest connection. It's a covenant like place. It's not just support. It's like we all give the definition. The pro-Israel people are waving flags and they're willing to do things for Israel. But Zionism, it's like I'm giving my life. It's deeper. It's so deep that to me,
kind of what I want to say.
Is so much deeper in a sense of like you're not only on the team, but you're willing to give your life for the team. It represents to me the 27,000 non-Jews of Europe that could care less for their life. It was about the covenant of Israel and the Jewish people. To me, that represents Zionism. And if we were to say those numbers today, there's 130,000 standing with Israel. And that, I would like to say that number goes a lot bigger if we do our job right. But Luke.
No, what I was going to say is like I don't feel like the danger is with those who are going to actually stand against Israel. I mean, that's a separate danger. But I think it was Edmund Burke said the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
That's right.
That's where I think the danger is, because how many people today would call themselves pro-Israel, Christians, Bible believers, Christian Zionists, but like Ari's been saying the whole show, when things hit the fan, who's actually going to rise up against the evil and who's going to stand by and do nothing and say nothing because they're scared, or they're scared for their family, or they go into survival mode. Because honestly, it takes a lot in today's Western world, today's day and age. It takes a lot for people to get off their rear end and actually do something.
And I think even more so
when they're scared.
Past. You think about more so than the past. I mean, the churches kept singing while the train cars full of Jews were going by. That's just history for us. That's what happened. You think about how much more today people are disconnected from the reality. How could they just be going to their church service when cattle cars full of Jews going to gas chambers were going by the back of the church in the 1930s? Today, I mean, in some ways, information can be dispersed better today, but in other ways, there's just so much going on that people can just ignore it. Like they're doing today. They're like saying, Iran's the good people, Jesus the bad people. How in the world could somebody come up with something like that if the world wasn't, the misinformation wasn't so bad? So that's a pretty doom and gloom view of the world.
Well,
but
I want to say something.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if the camera can see this, but I literally do have like a tear that has actually come out of my eye. And that's true. Because, I've heard a lot of speakers. I listen to a lot of classes. But there's one thing that I heard you say, Josh, that I'm never going to forget. And you said, if they're coming after the Jews, they're going to have to go through me first. And that touched my heart so much that I remember it until today. And I'm probably never going to forget it, because that is a real brotherhood. That is the righteous among the nations. That's casting your lot with Israel. That's saying your God is my God, your people is my people, your land is my land. We are going to in this together till the end. That's like what Ruth joining Israel is what gave birth to King David. That's actually, I believe, what this show is about. Because I get asked all the time, why are you doing the show with these Christians? What are you guys doing over there? And I'm like, in some ways, we are a reflection of the future of what the world could be and what the world should be.
And I do say it's a true brotherhood, because when I think about where we are on the tip of the settlement in the Judean frontier, part of my deep underlying motivation is recognizing that we are on the tip of the spear in the global jihad's battle against all dhimmi, against all non-Muslims in their quest to submit and subjugate all of humanity under Islam. And so if you are a believer in the Bible, Jew, Christian, or anything in between, then we are on the tip of the spear protecting you. So we're also saying that if they're coming for Josh, if they're coming for Luke, you're going to have to go through us. So I think in the eyes of God, he's seeing both of us together, and we're saying, it's like that old story about the two friends.
Tell the story.
I love this.
Okay, this is one of my favorite stories, and I'm going to try to make it very tight. Two friends raised, they love each other very much, best friends. This is thousands of years ago. One moved to Spain, the other moved to Rome. And the friend from Spain wanted to visit his friend in Rome, and finally, after like 25 30 years. He went there to visit his friend, and when he was there, the king in Rome said, "You're a spy and I'm going to kill you." He says, "I promise I'm not a spy. I can prove it to you." He says, "No, you're a spy and I'm going to kill you." He says, "Please allow me to go back to my family in Spain, close up my business, say goodbye. I'll be back in a month's time. You could kill me then." The king said, "You think I'm a fool? You're not going to do it. You're not going to come back. You'll just stay there." He says, "If I don't do it, if I don't come back, you can kill my friend." And the king laughs. And the friend says, "No, your majesty, if he doesn't return, you could kill me." So the king was intrigued. He said, "You could go back." He goes back to his family in Spain, closes up his business, says goodbye. They're begging, pleading, "Please don't go back." He says, "Of course I'm going to go back." He returns. On the way, the camel breaks its leg. The ship isn't picking up wind. Finally, he arrives on the day of the execution, running towards the center of the city. And he says, he sees his friend there with a rope around his neck. They're about to execute him. He says, "No, stop. I'm back. I'm back. Kill me. Don't kill him. Kill me." The friend with the rope around his neck turns to the king and says, "No, your majesty, he was supposed to be here at 9 o'clock. It's 10:30. You have to kill me." He says, "No, I just had to be here today. Kill me. Kill me." And the king cannot believe his eyes. And he says, "Stop. No one will die under one condition, that you make me your third friend."
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that is like such a beautiful analogy of the love that is growing between this righteous remnant of the nations and the nation of Israel. That the love is so pure, and it's not about shared allies or shared enemies or, superficial, this worldly motivations. It's a deep God thing. And when God sees the love, especially after thousands of years of animosity, and not despite the differences between us, but in some ways because of it, he just wants to be our third friend. That's where his presence dwells in the world, right? It says, "V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ani Hashem." You shall love your neighbor like yourself. I am God. Why does it those two things together? Because where there's true love between two friends, particularly who are at odds with each other, that's where God's presence dwells. And so that's what I think is happening here between us.
I love that story.
I love that.
Yeah,
every time he tells
story.
it. I hope, because I just feel like the numbers could be bigger. On a responsibility from Luke and I, like from the world abroad.
I think 130,000 is a good start.
It's a good start.
And like Jeremy said too, it's like what, because we have, I think, like 600,000 people in our audience. That doesn't mean all of them are actually going to stand up and do something when the things hit the fan. But like Jeremy said, like you have to go a step farther. And I think that's the number one challenge. Join the Land of Israel Fellowship. Join the Israel Guys member program.
I'm telling you, everyone that's a member of the Land of Israel Fellowship, they're with us too.
I prefer
to the end.
I prefer
it's
my
like
membership
a global
of the Israel
family.
Guys program.
You sign up with our program. I'll sign up with you.
we already are. No, but I'll tell you, I just want to put a bookmark somewhere, and it's bothering me, and I can't move on. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure the 130,000 speaks to me fully.
Yeah,
because I don't think that there's a uniform. Germanic history was much more homogenous, much more Edom and Esau, much more like they sucked the milk of Jew hatred from their mother's teat. You know, it's like so pure in that nation for many, many, many generations. Whereas America is a lot more diverse in the Christian philosophy, the Christian background. And so I think that there would be more in America than 130. But that being
said,
so
you changed your mind. You said you thought it was the same, but now you're thinking.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm trying
You're
to.
You're agreeing with Jeremy. The world is getting better.
Well, no, I'm not saying that
the world is getting closer and closer to redemption.
I don't know how you could see the world's response after October 7th, siding with Hamas, and say that the world is getting better. I think it's very, very dark right now, and it's darkest before dawn. But I want to just take responsibility here for a second.
France gathered up the Jews before France was entered, Nazis entered into the country. They'd already gathered up the Jews and shipped them off. So now they were protesting gas the Jews in Australia, but they weren't gathering up the Jews and sending them off.
Wow.
We are slowly but surely getting better. The Jews are back in the land. We have a strong middle.
The
world is getting better.
Talk about setting a low bar. Right?
The bar was set pretty low.
Okay, but that was also a different situation. But what I want to say is this. I saw that there was a group of Jews in Brooklyn that issued a letter to Nick Fuentes, inviting him to their house for Shabbat. And I'm like, no, we can't let that happen.
Wait, all right, you're the one that's always inviting Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes to
I would
Shabbat
love
table.
to have them in my home for Shabbat. But what I want to say this, and this is coming from a place of love for my fellow Jews around the world, love for diaspora Jews, and I would die for any one of them, regardless of their philosophy or ideology. They're my brethren, and I love them. But that being said, diaspora Judaism is not a true reflection of the current state of godliness and prophetic fulfillment in the world today. That is only Jews in the land of Israel and Jews in in Judea, Jews with the Torah of the land of Israel. And so diaspora Judaism is not going to diffuse the Jew hatred of America. If anything, it's going to aggravate it because it's not addressing the deepest underlying issue there. And so I can't help but to feel a responsibility as Jews in Judea that we are not really, I don't feel like I'm doing everything that I can to really blow the shofar and announce the truth to the world, because I have my own issues and my own fears and my own whatever that I'm trying to work through. But I think that we as Jews really need, Jews in Judea and in the land of Israel need to understand that there's already a light that we need to shine. And if we don't shine that light, that void is going to be filled with the very darkness that we're coming here to complain about.
Well, you can also prove that you're right. Luke just told me that since the mayor of New York, Mamdani's been elected, there's been a rise, double the amount of anti-Semitic attacks in New York City. And so it's like that.
Just in his first month.
And New York is the Babylon. New York is the center of American Jewry outside of the land of Israel. It's the same.
If my numbers are correct, there's 1 million Jews in New York.
Right. It's the largest Jewish community outside of Israel by far. And right now they elected a Muslim mayor. He's immediately distanced himself from Israel, and anti-Semitism is like rising, not even slowly. It's like bubbling. It's overwhelming. It's more than double.
As long as we're having tangents, can we just talk for a second, even though I've spoken about this before? Am I the only one here that the word anti-Semitism deeply bothers and annoys? I'm so annoyed, but it bothers you too? What is it that bothers you about it?
It's Jew hatred.
But can you put your finger, every time I hear it, I'm like, not you too. The word anti-Semitism is so...
It's the ambiguousness and it's just so vague and generic, and it's like it can apply to all these different things, and it doesn't get to the root of what.
Also, what is a really Semite? To people like, what is there's Islamophobia, it's against Islam. Homophobia, it's against homosexuals. Anti-Semite, what is a Semite descended from Shem? Who is Shem from the Bible? Like, what is that even about? It also sounds like parasite. They call Jews parasites, and it's also just been hijacked emotionally for me in my mind about Anti-Defamation League. Jonathan Greenblatt is like, that's anti-Semitism, and that's anti-Semitism, and very much finger-pointing censorship that is whiny and victimy and annoying. Yeah, but just say, and also, by the way,
Jew hatred, you're saying.
Say Jew hatred, and also the genesis of the term, if you look it up, it was created by an anti-Semite, by a Jew hater, by a German journalist in the late 19th century, that with the very explicit purpose of making Jew hatred a racialized thing. And that was his goal, accomplished, and for some reason the Jewish world has adopted it.
Institutionalized.
But I have to feel like I have to fight my battles because there's so many words that I have issues with.
Isn't it so unique, though, that this is one of the, let's just say, conservative, Bible-believing, religious people of the world? There's something about us that's not uniform. It's not cookie cutter. It's like, the left, they have an agenda. They know the terms. They know the way they do it. They can even create terms that we all use because we're not thinking about, how to we're not like so strategic sometimes like the left is. They're so strategic. They're so long game. They're so like communist, like in their like, we're going to do this and we're going to do like this, and we're going to end with this goal 100 years from now. How many people do you know that are like that on our friends? We just don't think like that. We live for God today, and we do what we can today. We're not really thinking long game. And sometimes these terms, how many people that are listening to the show right now use the term West Bank? That's probably that was coined by the enemies of Israel in order to delegitimize Israel in every way. But Bible people all over the world are using terms because we're not being proactive in the long game of setting like this. I don't know.
The word Palestinian,
like even that, same way.
There's a PLO leader, Zuhar Mohsen, and he said the Palestinian people does not exist. The creation of a Palestinian state is only a means for continuing our struggle against the state of Israel for our Arab unity. They say it themselves that the entire purpose of the creation was to undermine the connection with Israel. And then we have like right-wing, God-fearing Jews saying the term. And I say, why are you saying it? It's not true. They're like, well, if you want to be accepted in the Overton window, you got to say it because otherwise you're just too extreme to even be accepted or listened to.
But why do we do that? I just don't know if we're...
It's a mistake. Words create reality, and they're trying to dictate the terms.
Why don't we start doing that?
I think
Ari's pretty good at it. Ari's like, I don't want to use that word
Jews
anymore.
are from Judea.
You got it right here.
Jews are from Judea.
How do we create narratives that catch on that people begin
We don't
to
need
use?
to create a narrative. We just need to speak the truth.
No,
they need to create
there's
the
a way.
narratives.
It's not. We don't have to create a narrative. We just have to change the narrative to the narrative of all narratives, which is the narrative of the Bible. We just need to invite people to join the journey that is unfolding today through the Bible itself.
Can I say one note on that is that maybe the way to do that is stop listening to all of the other content creators that are causing all the confusion. I know for one, you guys and Ari and Jared, with Yishai Fleischer and you guys' channel, we've been listening to you guys forever. And that helped us to understand how to talk about Israel in the right language. Yishai is probably one of the best spokesmen on behalf of Israel that anybody can connect to, and he fights for Israel on so many fronts, in the legitimizing the Jewish cause of Zion and the redemption of Israel. And he's just so well spoken that I listen to him for the way he says it.
Yeah,
how did he answer that question? How did he say it? And then you'll hear it here on the show, because I think in that way we need to start aligning on terminology. How do we say things if we all say things differently?
More importantly, in my mind, than terminology, and I feel super passionately about this, it's not even terminology or what we say. It's who we are.
Yeah.
It's where it's coming from, where it's coming from. Meaning, when I saw Ben Shapiro's speech in Amfest or whatever, he was like, Megyn Kelly and this and that. There's a fundamental diaspora Jewish posture of anger and defensiveness and fear, whereas we in the land of Israel need to be coming from a place of compassion and generosity and teaching. Right? We don't need to be threatened all the time. They're not a threat. Tucker Carlson is not a threat. Megyn Kelly is not a threat, especially Megyn Kelly. Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, they're not threats to us. When we understand, Lo Irara, we only fear Hashem. So maybe they'll be successful against us and maybe they won't, but not because they have any independent ability to harm us. So when we look past them, through them, and we don't see them as a threat, we can come from a place of compassion and being generous and teaching them. And that's where I think it really needs to come from. That's where our fundamental posture needs to change from fear to blessing and to bless the world. Even Tucker Carlson's and Candace Owens and even Iran, we should be blessing them. We should be blessing them. It doesn't mean that we're not ready to fight to the very end. But until then, we should be blessing them, that God opens their eyes and fills them with light and gives them abundance and goodness. Imagine that was the message, instead of just this, it looks like two equals coming at each other. That's not what it is. On a fundamental human level, that's what it is. But on a level of truth, it's incomparable.
I think the biggest blessing for the people of Iran, if we were to just take out the Ayatollah and free them. So it's not just blessing and encouragement and light and love. There also needs to be strength when strength is needed.
Yeah, no, believe me.
When's it going to happen? Everybody's like, it's going to happen.
Well, I was going to say, we kind of avoided talking about it on today's show because like the news last night was Witkoff flies back to the U.S. because talks have broken off with Iran. And then the news this morning was talks are going to resume again in Oman on Friday morning. So there's no point in talking, and saying this is what's happening with Iran and the U.S. strike and all that, because it changes by the hour.
Right, and I've also been having my last slice of pizza before the war for like weeks in a row now.
Yeah, right.
But really, I was telling Jeremy on the way here that we've been through so much in this country that there's a real prevalent sentiment here that this next war is going to be on a whole nother level.
That's what
that this is going to be regional or global, that this could be the war. But we've been through so much that we're all like, all right, well, is it going now or later? We're all just like, it is what it is. Like, God is with us, and we're just going to...
Before the first war, everybody was like stockpiling, and everybody had their water and their stuff, and now everybody's like, today, even though that it's probably more real than it was back then.
I should probably fill the car up.
I still have the water that I stockpiled 2 years ago. So.
Yeah, right.
So we're running out of time, as usual. But I want to leave everyone with a great action point. And so after you go sign up for the Land of Israel Fellowship at thelandofisrael.com, and then you go sign up for the Israel Guys member program at theisraelguys.com, then I have something else for you guys to do. If you guys didn't know, the Israel Guys have trips to Israel. We have 9 trips to Israel this year. 9. Like, we're like a full-fledged, almost like a tour agency, except none of our trips to Israel are tours because they're based around volunteering and experiencing. And you guys should go sign up for them right now. A bunch of them are full and almost full already. And there's a really, really good chance you'll get to meet Jeremy and Ari while you're here.
I want to just come in for just a second. We have a lot of tours that come out to the Aru Goat Farm. They meet Ari and I. And I want you to know that the Israel Guys tours, the people that come are on another level. The experience I see happening to the people as they come on these trips are unparalleled. If you have one trip to come to Israel to really experience biblical Israel, to see Judea, Samaria, Jerusalem, to really meet the people of Israel, to work alongside us, there is no tour in Israel that even comes close to
That's
this
right.
tour.
And by the way, we pay a certain price for saying this because we have a lot of tours that come out, and a lot of them are really, really great. But especially if you're a first timer in Israel, I think it's worth it because it'll save you a lot of money.
That's
Why?
true.
Why will it save you money? Because most of the time, people come on the first trip and they go to the garden of the this and the that and whatever, and they see all the sites that are meaningful and nice, but then they felt something in their hearts. They come back again and they're going back to the sites. And usually by their third or fourth trip, they start realizing that what is this unquenched need that they have, the deep spiritual, healthy desire that they have? It's the relationships.
Yeah.
It's the people. And that's what you guys
That's
do.
what we focus on, yeah.
You focus not only on meeting the people, but blessing the people. And so I think that is one real serious distinction, that people emerge from your tours feeling deeply spiritually satisfied and fulfilled, because the deepest purpose of all of this is really the relationships. And that's something that I think you guys are all about.
Most people come
We
to Israel,
appreciate
look
that,
back
yeah.
at the past. It's living right now. Like, it's time for people to be a part of
So
something.
guys, sign up. We have one called the Heartland Experience. We got 3 of those this year. That's for everybody to come. And it's like you focus on Judea and Samaria, meeting the land, meeting the people, volunteering. We got trips for the whole family. But just one I want to mention real quick is something, it's sort of new. It's called Zion Ops, and it's for young people. If we're talking about the next generation and what's going to happen and how many people are actually going to stand with God and the Bible and Israel, we got to talk about the next generation.
That's right.
And unfortunately, I don't think many young people are watching or listening to this podcast, but parents are listening, grandparents are listening. And I would say Zion Ops is a program. It's a hardcore volunteer program that we're hosting. It's like 4 weeks, 6 weeks. You get down and dirty in the land of Israel. I would say if you have a young person in your life, you should send them on this trip. So go check it out. You can check out all the trips I just mentioned at serveisrael.com/calendar. They're all right there, and we'll put a link down in the description below. But guys, come to the land of Israel this year. Come to meet Jeremy and Ari. Come to the Aru Goat Farm. Come to meet the land and people of Israel. Get your hands dirty in the soil. It's, in our opinion, the best way to experience the land and the people of Israel. So, guys, check it out. Guys, anything else? We're like already over an hour today. I think we got our Torah in, our Bible. We got lots of tangents in today. You guys can let us know.
I'm really interested to know if this was
like
an
that?
excellent, great show or a really not great show.
We'll find out. We'll find out. Guys,
Let us know in the comments.
That's right. Guys, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following. Yes, drop something in the comments for Ari to read. No, I like to read the comments too.
Do you? You read the comments?
Not all of them, but I do.
I just scan for the name Ari.
I look at the comments every week. Yes. You put it through AI and you say, pull out any comments that mention Ari Abraham.
In a nice way, because my ego is too fragile to hear any sort of criticism.
Anyways, as always, guys, stop listening to the lies and propaganda. Connect with the truth of what's happening in Israel. We'll be back soon here at the Israel.
This is Jeremy Gimpel, and I just got back to the Aru Goat Farm in Judea from our podcast, and I was thinking about it on the ride back that we really touched on a lot of deep issues today. And if anything we said touched your heart, I would love to invite you to join us in the Land of Israel Fellowship. It's a global community, and we're literally just taking an adventure through the Torah all the way toward redemption. And if that calls you, you can find out more at thelandofisrael.com. We would love for you to join us. See you then. Shalom.